Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, Facebook Live. Nice to see you all. Let's see. Let me get Instagram going. Oops, took a picture of myself. Let me switch that over. Let's hit go live. Let's get that going. Let's see. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, Instagram Live. As you're tuning in, love to know, number one, where you're tuning in from. Number two, love to know three things you're grateful for. Let's see. Giuseppe, nice to see you. Welcome. Diego, Kay, nice to see you. Vladimir, Araya, welcome. Nice to see you. One more time as you're tuning in. Number one, where you're tuning in from. Number two, love to know three things you're grateful for in the comments section. Today, we're on day number 37 of our 100-day personal performance and business growth challenge. And Priya from Mombasa, Kenya, nice to see you. Diego from Colorado, I don't know what your name is, but from the Bay Area, awesome. Good morning from Chiang Mai, Thailand. Good morning. Renee, nice to see you. Simona, nice to see you. Andre, Michael. So today's topic is the fourth piece of the four things that could absolutely mess up your relationship. Number one, if you remember, was assumptions and expectations. So those two things can mess up your relationship. Number two, we talked about consistently updating and adjusting the assumptions, expectations, or the rule book or the plan based on the environmental changes. Number three, yesterday we talked about constantly communicating, effectively communicating through challenges and frustrations and upsets and good times and bad times and everything else. Now, today is the final fourth piece that could jack up a relationship pretty quickly. And this is roles and responsibilities. So this also rolls back up to when we talked about expectations and assumptions. Many times when people get together in a relationship, a business partnership, a friendship, an intimate relationship, what tends to happen is we have a hope, a dream, an expectation, or an assumption of what we think or hope our partner or other person involved in the relationship is going to do. We hope or think or expect or assume that, well, if I'm partner A, that partner B is going to handle these things. And, you come into the relationship thinking, well, if you're partner B and I'm partner A, that the partner A is going to handle certain things too. So often we forget to tell each other this. And so all of a sudden one day, I don't know, what's a simple one that'll totally mess people up? And let's say the laundry needs to get done. And, partner A says, well, man, no one's doing the laundry. I know what I'll do. I'll drag the laundry basket into the hallway so that they know it's time to do the laundry. And so that's a real smart idea. They drag it out and leave it there. And then partner B walks in the room and goes, what the hell did you leave the laundry out for? And they go, well, don't you do the laundry? And now there's a weird conversation. And this sounds simple in theory. How we learn this, and it's really silly, it's when you put it about laundry in the hallway. But who's supposed to pay the bills? Who's supposed to be in charge of cooking, cleaning? Who's supposed to be in charge of waking up at 2 a.m. when the kids need help? Who's supposed to be in charge of taking out the trash? Who's supposed to be in charge of defending the house if something goes down? And if you think through all the different things that someone needs to take charge of, the biggest mistake people make is, oh, we'll both do it. We'll both do it. I don't know about you. I've sat around in groups, specifically in business, where everyone was either a chief or everyone was an Indian, and nothing ever got done. And so one thing that we learned that was really important when we interviewed people who did this successfully over the years was they always said someone has to be lead in every category. Someone has to be the chief, and everyone else can be an Indian, but someone has to be the chief in each category. Someone has to be able to call the play and everyone else is going to go, okay, and get it done or help in some way. And it doesn't mean they have to do everything in the category. It just means that someone has to lead in that category. So real quick in the comment section, I'd love to know, in your relationship, what categories are you the lead in? Which categories are you the leader in, or are you the pilot in command, or the chief, or the boss, or the CEO, or whatever title you want to give it? But which categories in your relationship are you the lead? Let's start with that one. Then in the comment section, I'd love to know, which categories are you the support in? And this is interesting. Now, if we get to this question and you don't know, you definitely want to go have a talk with whoever you're in a relationship with. If you get to this category and you're not sure if you're the lead or the support, you go, uh-oh, we haven't talked about it, which means you need to go sit down and say, hey, let's write down every category in our relationship, all the things that have to happen. And when we have all the categories written out, now each of us can either pick which categories we want. So Denny says he's in charge of bills and protection. Fair enough. And I'll give you a clue. Some things I'm in charge of. One thing I lead and I kind of take charge of is cleaning the house. I actually enjoy cleaning for some reason. It's relaxing. And so I'll make sure that our environment is very clean and always tidied up. I also am in charge of the laundry. So I'll do laundry for us and I'll make sure that's taken care of. I'm trying to think of what else. I'm in charge of, my wife is in charge of marketing. So she leads in marketing. My wife is in charge of cooking. She leads in cooking. She's way better than I am in those ones. Let's see. Simona says lead in household and keeping logistics, kids, and activities, mental and spiritual support. Beautiful. Michael says I'm in charge of the nighttime baby feeds and cleanups at the moment, support in morning routine and making sure the kids are ready. Very nice. And so this is something, again, to roll back to what we talked about before. If you find yourself assuming or expecting the other person is supposed to be in charge of something, or they're supposed to lead, or you wish they would lead, this is something that you want to talk. Diego says, I'm the lead when walking and training the dogs. I'm in charge of teaching my son how to learn to think. Okay. So you see, everyone has a lead and a follow. Denny's in charge of feeding the horses. Very nice. There we go. So Felicia says, I feel very unfulfilled in this area because the subject was never addressed and he travels a lot. So now I'm in charge of everything. He helps once in a while, but I'm ultimately the responsible. So Felicia, you're not alone. A lot of people feel that way if this isn't talked about early in the process. The good news is you can still absolutely bring it up. Just knowing that when you've gone pretty far down a road, it's a little hard to turn things around and bring it all the way back. But as you're going down the road, you can start to, cut the activities and give people different responsibilities, or ask for support in different places to be like, hey, I know I've been in charge of this. My plate is overstacked. I need a little bit more support in the following areas. Now, what could that look like? Maybe a friend comes and help. Maybe you have enough money to hire somebody to help. Maybe you get a part-time person to help every now and then. Maybe you barter with someone to help. But it's figuring out where and how you could adjust the current org chart, if you want to put it that way. It's not very sexy, but it works, in order to get to a place where you can shift who's in charge of what and balance some of the responsibilities. But thank you for bringing that up. That's exactly why we're talking about it right here. So when it comes to assumptions and expectations, this is something you definitely do not want to assume or expect. Instead, you want to communicate effectively, and you want to constantly update it throughout time. Because in the beginning, when it's just you two, you might have roles and responsibilities. And all of a sudden, you have a few children. I was interviewing a beautiful human yesterday talking about how she became an instant mama 3. the roles and responsibilities are going to change. You got to redo the org chart when there's more people involved, or the situation changes, or the job changes, or the circumstance changes, or the environment changes. All these little adjustments will cause the org chart to have to shift. Therefore, a constant communication, which was point number 2, constantly communicating and updating the plan is going to help keep this in a good place over time. So going back to number 1, expectations and assumptions. Number 2, constantly updating as the environment shifts. Number 3, communicating effectively through some of the rough spots and some of the frustrations. Number 4, roles and responsibilities. Diego says, what's something that you thought you were the lead in when you were really the support area? Ooh. I hate it when people say it's your job. No, it's our job. So this is where people get screwed because they say, oh, it's ours. We're responsible. We're both. It's okay. You can both help, but someone has to lead. Someone has to support. So if both people are leading, they say, go left, no, go right, no, go left, no, go right. Nothing ever gets done. If both people are waiting, they're like, which way do we go? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Nothing gets done. Someone has to say, we're going left. The other person says, okay, I've got your back. So this doesn't mean like what you're saying. No, that's your job. No. It's still us getting it done, but which one of us is going to lead and which one of us is going to support. It's always a 2-player game or a 3 or 5 or 10-player game, depending on how many kids you have and family and that jazz. It's always a multiplayer game, but one person leads, one person supports in each activity. That might be a distinction that's really important, is all parties are always participating. Who's leading, who's supporting is the key with this. Michael says it's always dangerous to designate roles and then find out that you struggle to give up that role. E.g., cleaning the house might be a passion, so giving away might be hard. It can create internal. Absolutely. So this rolls back up, Michael, to communicating through the rough patches or the understandings or the situations. That's why all 4 of these go together. So original expectations and assumptions. What do you need? What do you want? What do you desire it? How do you need it? How do you want it? How do you desire it? Second, constantly updating the plan of since this has happened, since that's happened, here's what changed, here's what didn't change, here's how I feel about it, here's how I used to feel about it. You need to communicate through that as it's happening, as it's updating. Next one, communicating through it, constant update, communication, and then roles and responsibilities. These 4 go together really well. What happens when one person starts measuring the contribution? So again, it's still a team sport. And who was it? Chrissy pointed something out. Not, oh, you're in charge of that, I'm in charge of this, and I'm going to measure how useful what you do is. Now, that's not a team anymore. That's cutting up and blaming, and it's a power struggle now and frustrating. So what's happening is if someone's measuring your contribution, what's happening is you're no longer on the same side. More often than not, you need to elevate and say, hey, what are we really trying to do here? What we're really trying to do here is create a great life together. What we're really trying to do here is love each other even more every day. What we're really trying to do here is you need to elevate to what you're trying to do. And then the second piece is say, okay, both of us always have to be involved. It's just who's leading, who's supporting. Taking responsibility is the core of relationship together with love. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is so helpful. It comes in the right moment to me. Thank you. You're so welcome. So welcome. Okay. I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to go support my wife in whatever she is up to in the other room. Hopefully you have a great morning, evening, afternoon. Pass this on to someone who needs to watch it. And I will talk to you all tomorrow for day number 38.